So to me, this is a very interesting exploration of the science, a little bit different than what we usually do here on Health Quest. One of my favorite things is to actually look at the science that can make a difference in the nutrients that I take. That's my interest. I think it's yours as well. So it's in that capacity I'm pleased to introduce to you my guest today, Emmett Blair.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure.
You and I have talked numerous times over the years about doing this, and it's fun that we finally have gotten here. I know you've been very busy in the past developing your technology. As the introduction said, it's been over 10 years since you first started working on this. Before we delve into the topic, though, of our interview, tell our listeners a little bit about your history, how it is that you got to this point.
Like many people, my entire life I've been interested in natural products and dietary supplements. I was one of those kids where my mom used to put different kinds of fish oils and raw eggs, mixing it with vitamins in my special smoothies that I would get a couple times a week, and she just never told me all the fantastic stuff she put in there. As I grew up going to graduate school, what I really started learning about was about how your body metabolizes different materials, whether they be toxic or very health-building. What I found out was that all of the materials, all the enzymes, all the stuff in your body is very, very strictly controlled. You can eat an apple, but it doesn't matter. That's not what's going to get absorbed into your blood. Your body's going to break it up into its components and manipulate it and absorb it the way that your body wants to absorb it. And that was exactly what I was studying during my graduate studies at the University of California in Irvine, is how do you make enzymes in a correct, let's call it a happy environment where they can function well, and then we can study them. Well, it turns out they need to be encased in these things called lipids, and without those lipids, the enzymes don't function. And if those enzymes don't function, you're not able to metabolize material into your body, right? You can't metabolize food into your body. Your liver basically doesn't work. That led me into studying not only the enzymes themselves, but the systems around them. And it turns out that these systems are just as important as anything else. And these systems are really what we've eventually developed into the liposomes, these natural fats that our eyes are made out of, our brain is made out of, our liver is made out of. And they're able to encase either nutrition or enzymes or just about anything you can think of.
A lot of people may have heard about the importance of fats. Certainly, we're gaining a newfound respect for fats, certainly good fats, and understanding bad fats. One of the things that I have learned is that fats make up cell membranes. Are these the same fats that make up these liposomes?
Absolutely. The fats that make up your cell membranes are the exact same fats that we use to make liposomes. The ones that I prefer to use are going to be non-allergens. They're going to be coming from sunflower oil. They're going to be non-GMO certified from seed. So we know from the farm that they're native, natural fats. The other thing is, this isn't only a delivery system. Once these liposomes, these tiny little bubbles that we use to put a variety of different ingredients into, deliver the nutrition into your body, they themselves become a critical part of your body's nutrition. We don't think about this, but since eggs all of a sudden got a bad rap, right? Everybody's scared of cholesterol, for better or worse. People stopped eating eggs. And one of the nutrients that we stopped getting at large enough amounts is phosphatidylcholine, these really, really important fats. Well, that's wreaked absolute havoc on our livers, our brains, and our bodies in general because we're not getting this absolutely critical component. Phosphatidylcholine, which is this natural fat that our membranes and our cells are made out of, is so important that now people are starting to supplement just with that fat. The other thing that's really interesting is that our digestive process requires these kind of fats to absorb nutrition. When you take or you eat, let's say, some fish oil, right, it's really, really important. Well, what happens is your stomach and your body, it takes this big blob called a capsule that we take, and it breaks it up into tiny, smaller and smaller bubbles of the oil, and then eventually it wraps these bubbles with these healthy fats in order to absorb it, because your digestive system, in order for it to recognize it and have it emulsified properly, it needs these healthy fats to wrap around things like fish oil or any other kind of nutrition that we
Let
eat.
me see if I understand this correctly, that I'm on the right track here. When we take nutrients, vitamin C, we'll just take vitamin C as an example. We can take vitamin C in a tablet, in which case it's just vitamin C pressed into a tablet with whatever other factors are part of that tablet. Or we can take it in a capsule. In that case, we're still taking a powder. When we take a liposome, what I think I'm understanding is that we take that vitamin C, and that vitamin C is then wrapped at a molecular level in these healthy fats, these lipids, and that these then lipids, and this whole thing is then I think called a liposome, but these lipids then allow it to be carried into the bloodstream through the digestive system into the bloodstream and then deliver it to the cells, and then this outer wrapping then becomes also a healthy fat that the body can use for whatever it needs these fats for. Do I get that chain and picture correct, that the liposome just does a much more efficient job than taking something as a powder?
That's absolutely correct. In fact, vitamin C is the classic example. When you take that 1 gram tab of vitamin C, over 80% of it gets rejected by your body. It's kind of interesting. Whether you take 200 milligrams, whether you take half a gram, whether you take 1 gram, whether you take 5 grams of vitamin C, your body still will only absorb about 200 milligrams. The rest is rejected because it's not packaged in the right way for your body to recognize it and absorb it. This model is completely taken from nature. The first time that many of us took liposomes was through milk. These liposomes are fundamentally a model for milk. And think about it. What is milk? It's small, microscopic fat globulars with nutrition inside of the fat. Well, that's exactly what a liposome is. When you look at liposomes, they're sold as liquids, and they pour like milk, they look like milk. Of course, the big difference here is the liposomes that we make are actually completely vegan and don't have any dairy in. Still, fundamentally, it is a natural model for the absorption system that our body has known since we were babies.
Can this system be used with virtually any nutrient, or are there certain classes
or taken a
that
vitamin
lend
and wondered if
themselves to
anything
liposomes?
was happening?
You can use
Or had it give you an
liposomes
upset
for
stomach?
Just about any kind
Do you
of
feel like
nutrient
you're
you can
wasting
think
your
of.
money
We
buying
use them
nutritional
for
supplements?
vitamins.
You probably
We use them for
are.
fat-soluble vitamins,
In order to
water-soluble
unlock the
vitamins,
power of
herb
supplements,
extract,
your body has
and
to be
other
able to
molecules
absorb them.
such as
But a lot of
glutathione,
vitamins don't
CoQ10,
absorb at all,
etc.
and they
It's
just
a
go
very,
right
very
through you.
broad
That's why you get the
system to
upset
be
stomach.
used in just
There's
about any
something
kind of
called
nutrition you
a
can think of.
liposome, which
What
can
we're
help your body
suggesting
absorb the
here
nutrition
is
from
that
supplements.
liposomes,
It
as a
acts like a
delivery
little
system
bubble
for
that surrounds
supplements,
vitamins and
is going
minerals
to be
so that it supports
more
uptake
efficient.
into your bloodstream.
You're going to get more of it
Liposomes
into
are-
your system. Now, let's continue with this example of vitamin C. Do we have any studies that show the difference between a liposome absorption rate and, say, traditional vitamin C?
Absolutely. In collaboration with Colorado State University, my liposome manufacturing methodology has been completely validated. What we did was, in collaboration with Colorado State University, we performed a double-blind, placebo-controlled crossover study on humans. And what we looked at was the absorption of regular powdered vitamin C dissolved in a glass of water with our liquid liposomal system. What's interesting about this study is that each person was their own control, and that's what the crossover part of the study means. So each person tried the placebo, tried the regular powdered vitamin C dissolved in water, and then also tried the liposomal vitamin C. And there was 2-week gaps in between the testing. And what we saw is that a person who took the liposomal vitamin C had faster absorption. The absorption went significantly higher in their blood serum levels, and we actually exceeded the theoretical amount of vitamin C that you could get into the blood through oral ingestion, and it stayed in the blood for a longer period of time. So when you're looking at a molecule like vitamin C, which is an incredibly potent antioxidant, in your blood, there was larger antioxidant buffering capacity for a significantly longer period of time.
Taking a liposome is going to give us higher rates of absorption and longer life in the system. So we're going to get much more efficient use out of the supplements that we do take.
Absolutely. And that's really what it's about. It's about taking a supplement, having it support the absorption of that supplement into your body, into your blood, so you could actually use it. As you mentioned earlier in the show, just because you take something doesn't mean you absorb it. It doesn't mean that your body actually is able to use it. It's got to get into your blood. It's got to get into your cells. And without that, it's just adding stress to your body. Because think about this. When you're taking a few grams of vitamin C and your body has to reject it and excrete it out, well, that's work and energy that your liver and your kidneys and your body and your digestive system have to do just to get rid of that vitamin C. It doesn't actually see any benefits from it. It just has to try and excrete it at that point. We had good intentions and we took a supplement to try and help our health, but at the end we just ended up stressing our bodies.
In the introduction, I mentioned that your liposomal process is unique, doesn't require high pressure, high temperature, or toxic synthetic chemicals. That's a very interesting statement there because, of course, it implies that this is not the case for everybody. Unique means this is your process. So tell us a little bit about your process and also how it compares to other liposomes that are manufactured out there.
Absolutely. One thing that we pride ourselves on is trying to do things as naturally as possible. And the way that we make liposomes, once again, is a model of how nature makes liposomes. So we figured out what nature does, and then we, to a certain degree, copied it in our manufacturing facility. We don't use any temperature or any pressure because obviously your body doesn't have access to an oven and doesn't have access to pistons and things like that to create high pressures. Nor do we use any kind of organic solvents. So the typical way that many companies make liposomes is they will dissolve these really healthy fats, phosphatidylcholine, in things like ethanol. And then they'll push this ethanol through these high pressure and high temperature pistons to push the fats through these tiny little holes. And by pushing the fats through tiny little holes, they'll make liposome. Now with us, we don't use ethanol, we don't use the temperature, we don't use the pressure. We use a system, and it's a proprietary system, so I can't get into too many details. It doesn't require any of these facets. So let's say liposomal glutathione. So people take glutathione because they're trying to help support their liver. Well, if you're going to take that product, but at the same time it's going to have a lot of organic solvents such as ethanol, what you're doing is you're taking something that is healthy and is going to help your liver, but at the same time, now your liver is stressed out because it's got to metabolize the alcohol that comes along with it. The other thing is fundamentally we're talking about stability. Because we never cook our raw ingredients, they tend to last longer and are stable for longer periods of time. So you can imagine, once you cook something, oftentimes, you got to keep it in the fridge and you need to eat it within a day or two. Well, if you don't do that, you haven't started the degradation process yet. And when you don't start the degradation process, you're going to get a longer and healthier shelf life.
The goal today was to introduce people to liposomes, to that technology, help them understand the importance, to understand that not all liposomes are created equal. And we're getting near the end of our time, Emic, and I would like to give you the last word. Is there anything that we didn't cover today that you think our listeners should hear?
Absolutely. As we know, there's a lot of dietary supplements out there on the market. And the reality is, most of them are very, very similar to one another. We take some vitamins, we take a few other things, we put them together, and you have a capsule or you have a powder. This is something truly unique and cutting edge in the industry. This is something that's going to be very different and has proven efficacy and proven bioavailability. What we like to try and stress to everybody is that this is scientifically studied, and this isn't just, trust me, this works.